Hi there. I want to welcome you to 247 Business Ideas. It's a sad day in the business world, in the economics world, as we lose one of the longest serving economists, a man who influenced very many issues in the economic world, a man who wrote policies on which much of Uganda's economy revolves on. His name is Keith Muhakanizi. He passed on not very long ago, but on the 13th of April in Milan, Italy. Let me give you a brief background on who Keith Muhakanizi is. Keith Muhakanizi was born on the 24th of November 1957 to Reverend Kosia and Zerida Kajwengye. These two all passed on in Kitojo Buyanja, Rukungiri District. He was the third born of the 7 children in a family of born-again revivalists known as Abaishemwe. This upbringing instilled in him a deep appreciation of God, the importance of education, and the power of knowledge in transforming society. In 1990, he married Janet Kamukama, with whom they have 3 beautiful children, that is Nahum, Siima and Noah. Now, he studied in the precious university, or rather the precious NtareSchool. This is a school in which many big shots went through. President Museveni, Kategaya, and many of them. So he went through NtareSchool between 1974 and 79 for both O and A level. Then later he went to graduate in Makerere University with a Bachelor of Science in Economics. Now he attained this in 1982 and later attained the Masters of Science and Development Economics in 1989 from the University of Manchester, UK. Keith also acquired a diploma in National Economic Planning and Statistics from the Warsaw in Poland in 1984. Now, when did Keith start his career? He started his career in the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development in 1982 as an economist in the Microeconomic Planning Division. Now, from there, he worked there for a couple of years, and between 1988 and 2021, Keith served with distinction and excellence in various capacities under the merged Ministry of Finance, Planning, and Economic Development. From there, between 1988 and 21, Keith served with distinction in the ministry, like I've said. Then some of the key positions he held in the ministry was acting commissioner and advisor to the Minister of Finance, Commissioner of Economic Development Policy and Research, Director of Economic Affairs, acting Deputy Secretary to the Treasury, and later Deputy Secretary to the Treasury. He was appointed a permanent secretary and secretary to the Treasury in May 2013, a position that he held till 2021 when he was appointed the permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister. Keith is accredited for playing an instrumental role in many reforms, both macro and micro, and in the planning of the financial and private sectors in Uganda. His expertise was in public service management, budgeting and economic policy, and many other areas. As a deputy secretary and secretary to the Treasury, Keith played a key role in attainment of Uganda macroeconomic stability and economic growth while keeping public debt sustainable. He initiated and implemented several budget reforms and authored the revised Poverty Eradication Action Plan 2000 and others. He played a key role in the establishment of a single treasury account at the Bank of Uganda, a reform that eliminated multiple government accounts and government cash payments, which greatly enhanced transparency and accountability in government. He also initiated and oversaw the implementation of decentralization payroll, which curbed the problem of ghost workers in Uganda. For this, he received accolades as an African role model. Between 2000 and 2005, Keith initiated and implemented the medium-term competitive strategy in the private sector, the first of this kind in Uganda. On top of that, Keith served as a chairman and or a member of the board of directors at several institutions. Now, these included Uganda Coffee Development Authority, PTA Bank, where he successfully reconstructed the bank, the Uganda Industry Research Institute, Post Bank Uganda, Housing Finance Bank, National Housing and Construction Company Limited, East African Development Bank, Uganda Energy Credit Capitalization Company, and the Economic Policy Research Institute, Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, Bank of Uganda, Rural Electrification Agency, Uganda Revenue Authority, amongst the many others. So now the question is, what happened to Keith? Keith died of cancer at a Milan hospital in Italy after battling for several years. He went and sought for treatment in Uganda, Kenya, Turkey, and later he died in Milan, Italy. While at a state funeral in Kololo, President Museveni described Keith as a very great economist. He said when the NRM government came from the bush, he met very great economists, which included Keith, Chris Kasami, Tumusime Mutebire, and the current acting governor at the Bank of Uganda. President Museveni said that these three belong to the IMF doctrine, which involves managing the economy through the control of inflation and control of public expenditure. Keith, like I stated above, designed very many policies on which much of the Uganda's economy relies on. His family, most especially the wife, children, and relatives, all describe him as loving, caring, and a workaholic. However, they state clearly that Keith found time to balance between family and work. On the other side, his critics, despite the very many beautiful things talked about, his critics say Keith, while at the Ministry of Finance, authorized a very huge public debt. He's responsible for authorizing very many debts that the country got, and yet Uganda is known for a very, very low debt absorption rate. The Lubowa scandal was also another one on his hands. Many critics said he is the one who spearheaded the Lubowa scandal, which most of you know about. Many times, Keith led the team to parliamentary accounts committees to explain the behavior of the ministry, the behavior of the government towards borrowing. And many times, Keith stood his ground to explain these policies away. Many times he appeared on radio and TV to defend government expenditure boldly, and which some people thought he was very arrogant, but he was such a straight man. Goodbye, Keith Muhakanizi. Rest well. The life and times of great economist Keith Muhakanizi.